You're listening to the Secure Dad Podcast. Discover ways to secure your home, protect your family, and embrace your role as a protector parent. Welcome, friend. I'm Andy Murphy, the creator of the Secure Dad. This podcast serves to help families become proactive in their safety. The information I share on this podcast is for general information purposes only. My goal is to empower you to make safer decisions for yourself and your family, because our safety is our own responsibility. Today I'm talking about our families and how we don't need to be the cool parents. We need to be the respected parents, and I will fully explain that. All of that and more ahead on the Secure Dad Podcast. Are you looking for a service to remove your data online? You might find this hard to believe, but some data removal companies may actually compromise your data. Some companies send opt-out requests with your data automatically to all data brokers on their list. So if that broker didn't have your information before, then they do now. That's not how it's supposed to work. Delete Me is different. Delete Me manually checks whether your data is listed on a broker's site. Then they only send an opt-out request to websites that your data was discovered. That way your private information is removed and can't be sold. If you want to get your personal information removed from search sites, go to joindeleteme.com/dad. They're offering 20% off their privacy plans to everyone listening with the code DAD. Delete Me really does value your privacy, and they work to protect it in many ways. See why I find Delete Me essential to my privacy at joindeleteme.com/dad and use promo code DAD to get 20% off today. Delete Me is the sponsor of the Secure Dad Podcast. Today is episode number 250. I feel like episode 200 was just last month. I've had so much fun creating this show for us, and I really enjoy it, especially today's episode. When I first started the Secure Dad in 2016, I thought I would run out of things to talk about within the first 6 months. But here we are 7 years and 250 podcast episodes later, and we still have more to do. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Today on the show, I want to talk about parenting. I talk a lot about safety, and it's been a while since we focused exclusively on being a mom or a dad. So I want to help us focus on what's important and how we need to be perceived by our kids, their friends, and those that are in our sphere of influence. Plus, I think a lot of us think this way, the way I'm going to talk about here, and I just wanted to say a lot of stuff out loud because I think we're all thinking of it. But I also want to address a few issues that you may not be aware of and that some of us just might flat out avoid. So let's talk about being the cool parent. If you Google, what is a cool parent, you get a definition that says, a cool parent is someone who can relate to teens, but still establishes a position of respect and authority. All right, so let me dip into my southernness here. Bless your heart. I don't know who wrote that, but that's not what kids mean when they say that a friend has a cool mom or dad, okay? We all know what it means. That ain't it. To the real world, the cool parent is the one that lets their kids do whatever they want and are very hands-off. They don't monitor what their kids are doing online, what media they're consuming, or what their kids are doing academically. The cool parent is the one that lets kids bring drugs, porn, and alcohol into their home and give some lame excuse that kids are just going to do it anyway, so at least they can do it in their home or they can be watched. That's a joke. That is a red flag. If that's what a parent says to you, a parent that's going to be watching your kid over at their house, I would strongly suggest that you consider leaving, because that's not what you want. You don't want a parent to be complicit in your child's delinquency. Very fancy way of saying that. They also pay too much attention to teenage gossip, and they try to live vicariously through their children. They're trying to relive their glory days in high school or middle school or whatever it was. And they may be too busy as influencers, and they see their kids as actors rather than people. This is a very permissive style of parenting where adults are child-driven and seek to overindulge them rather than discipline them. In my opinion, I think that these parents have a bit of an identity crisis. Parents like this seem to want to maintain their childhood or teenage years while flat out ignoring the structure that kids need. They want to be liked by their kids, but struggle to discipline them for a variety of reasons. They usually don't address a behavior until it's a problem, and they don't have the skills or the position to deal with it, so this ends up escalating and becoming an argument, and there is no real resolution, and this lasts way longer than it needs to. They also really don't understand the boundaries that kids need to thrive and feel loved. This is going to create a problem. Your kids should not think of you as a friend. They need to see you as a parent. If you take nothing away from this show, remember what I just said. Your kids should not think of you as a friend. They need to see you as a parent. These are the kind of parents that mix, being a free-range parent and a fun parent, and they just kind of hope and just assume that their kids are going to turn out okay because they turned out okay. Look, I'm okay, so therefore my kid will be okay. Now, I'm going to argue that if you're on your third marriage, more than $20,000 in debt, and have gone to court more than you've gone to church, you might not have turned out all that well. If that stings, that's not on me. But I don't think the fine folks that listen to this show are free-range, cool parents. But you might be married to one, or your child might have friends with parents who are like this. I remember being a teenager and hearing about cool parents, and honestly, I had no respect for them, and that's the truth. Cool parents are manipulated by their kids and their kids' friends to get what they want. That's the truth. They know that if they can get into the cool parent's house, they can indulge in whatever deviant behavior they wanted. That's why they're always nice to the cool parent, because it's part of the manipulation. If you're one of these cool parents and you think, oh, all my kids' friends love me, there's a reason. And it might be because you're easily manipulated. I think that many parents today have problems navigating child relationships because they don't have any experience with what to do. Now, I fully understand that not everybody had great parents growing up. And just because you were not abused by a drunk parent growing up, that doesn't mean that you had quality parents. It's a huge spectrum, and I realized that in the last few years. Some adults suffer from parenting imposter syndrome, and they feel like they're faking it because they haven't been shown what to do. They feel like they're just making this up as they go. Since they have no parenting lessons to fall back on, they default to making the kid happy by allowing them to do whatever it is that they want. Does any of that sound appealing to you? You should never strive to be the cool parent. Your kids should not think of you as a friend. They need to love you as a parent, which, by the way, is way better than being a friend. I don't want my son to say that I'm his best friend. I want him to have a best friend his age. I am his father, and that bond is greater than friendship. By the way, if your child has ever said to you in a very heartfelt way that you were their best friend, that is wonderful. I don't want to take that away from you. That might have been the only way that they could express what they were feeling. So look at the intent of that statement and cherish what that meant. What I'm saying to you now is that you should not lower yourself to the level of friendship. Parenting is much more than what any friend can ever do. You need to be the respected parent. This is the parent that first and foremost knows who they are in their parenthood. You know right from wrong, and you are rooted in your beliefs that guide your family. You need to be a protector, a caregiver, a disciplinarian, a teacher, a confidant, an encourager, among many, many other attributes. Work with your kids to solve problems. Make them feel validated. Listen to them and meet their needs. You need to take parenting seriously because your child's life depends on it. Yes, it is hard. And no, we will not always know what to do or make the right decision. But if you lead by your heart for the greater good of your family, then you're not going to mess it up. I will throw the Jocko Willink quote in here for those of you who want to hear it. You need progress, not perfection. You need to move your children forward because you are not raising kids. You are raising adults. Kids who have respect for their parents feel loved and protected. Children respond well to boundaries and love. That's been said by tons of parents, teachers, and professionals. But also, when kids give respect, they can also develop respect for themselves. Remember what Officer Gomez said to us in the very last episode of this show? Kids that know their self-worth will say no to bad opportunities, and they will act wisely. Predators look for kids who are weak, who can be manipulated easily, and if your child knows their value, then predators will not have success with them. And not just predators when they are children, but predators when they are in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s. A child that has a respected parent who also respect themselves has a much greater chance at a better future. You need to be the respected parent. No matter what your parenting dynamic looks like, either married, single, or co-parenting, you need to both be respected. When you can give and earn respect in your household, you are going to be able to enjoy a safer, happier life. Well, that's all that we have for the 250th episode of the Secure Dad podcast. Thank you, friend, for listening. Take control of your personal private data with Delete Me. Get 20% off a privacy plan when you use the code DAD at checkout. If you want your kids to have a smartphone, but not access to the entire internet or social media, then consider a phone from TrueMe Wireless. Use code SecureDad at checkout for $50 off a phone. Tap the link in the show notes to get started. If you'd like to know more about the Secure Dad, join me on Instagram and Twitter, which is now called X. My username for both platforms is The Secure Dad. And of course, my website is available to you 24/7 at thesecuredad.com. I'm Andy Murphy, reminding you that our safety and our parenting is our own responsibility.